So I apologize, I got camp voice. So my karaoke days are over for a while. It's been a really good camp. We've got some things clearing up. Some young guys have presented themselves. Some vets have presented themselves. So I feel like, we're starting to narrow this thing in pretty well. Jay Bramblett has been everything that we thought he would be in terms of his ability on the field, the job that he's done leadership-wise with our group of specialists, and then I think Jay's got a good presence in the locker room. I know that as we've gone through this camp, and there were some firsts for our football team in the way that Coach Kelly does things, I know that a lot of the veterans use Jay as a resource in terms of, hey, what is Coach looking for here? What is this that we're doing? And I think that became valuable in the locker room. I will say this, while Jay is going to be our punter, Peyton Todd has come a mile from where he was in the spring. I mean, he's really had a good camp, and we are very encouraged about his future. I think it's excellent. Big, strong guy. When he connects, you can hear it, and his consistency has been much better. The kicking battle is still kind of up in the air. I know everybody had high hopes for what was a highly ranked freshman in Nathan Dybert, but we all have to remember freshmen are still freshmen, and it's a quantum leap from high school football in the suburbs of Michigan to Death Valley, and so it's been. Damian Ramos has had a fantastic camp. Trey Finnison, the transfer from Northwestern's had a very good camp. And in the last probably, 6 to 8 days here, Dybert has really come on after, a little bit of an adjustment period at the start. Slade Royal Snap, he's been awesome. Kick returner. We've got a bunch of candidates there between Malik Neighbors and Armani Goodwin, Francione. That has not kind of worked itself out quite yet. And then at punt returner, we've been working Neighbors, Sage Ryan, which I didn't know a whole lot about Sage. And, Cortez and I were talking over the summer about possible candidates back there to return punts, and a bunch of guys came to us and said, go back and watch Sage's high school film. And he was an electric offensive player. And we put him back there, and he's a really natural catcher. And then Seven Banks is back there as well. So obviously we've got some time here. We're not quite in the game week yet, so we've got a couple of days this week to continue to work through that stuff. In terms of core people, Colby Richardson has been great. West Weeks has been fantastic. Colby Fields has been really good. Josh Williams coming out of the tailback group. Nick Demas coming out of the tailback group. Jeray Jenkins I've got really high hopes for in terms of a big wide receiver being able to contribute. Major Burns, I hope you guys get the chance to be around Major Burns. Guys like that make coaching so much fun. He is smiling every day. He's happy to be in the building. He's got so much great energy. I have so much fun coaching him. I feel like the collective buy-in from, veterans all the way down to true freshmen. Jalen Davis Robinson, as a true freshman, has showed out. So has Perk. He's been great. So I think we're going to be able to, in the first couple of weeks, get some young players some reps and play the vets where we need them. And I also think, and I know Coach Kelly subscribes to this theory too, is that when you have a young player, say like Harold Perkins or Jalen Davis Robinson, guys that are freshmen that are showing themselves like, okay, at some point, this guy's going to play this year. The kicking game's a great place to get them used to the speed of the game and the physicality of the game. And so that if we look up in week 6 and one of those guys has to play 50 plays in a game. Well, leading up to it, he's played 15 or 20 per game to kind of get used to it. And, I could see some of our younger players doing that. So overall, pleased. Nobody told me that there was monsoon season in Louisiana. Everybody told me how hot and there's never a cloud in the sky, and it goes from 95 to the biggest raindrops I've ever seen in my life in 10 minutes. So I wasn't quite prepared for that. But other than that, we're doing awesome. So with that, we'll take any questions.
Hey, Coach. Jacques Doucet, WAFB TV. When it comes to kicking off, if you find a guy that can kick it into the end zone and kick it out, do you not overthink it and just do that? Or are there times where, okay, let's try to pin him inside the 10 and sky kick and do some of those things?
No, there are times. I mean, it's not just hammer away. I think with the kickoff job, it's not who's got the best ball. It's who can hit their best ball consistently, and that's what we're trying to work out right now. Touchbacks are the easiest things to cover, but there are times that we want to drop the ball on the goal line and get down there and cover, and frankly, there are times we want to move the ball, across the field. So we're still working through that, and I think by the end of the week we'll have a sense. Sure.
So I'm sort of curious what his sort of range is as a kicker. Is 45, 50, 40 yards? What's the sort of range?
We were in a 2-minute drill situation last week, and he made a 54-yarder to win the game in a 2-minute drill. So if you want to make a name for yourself, making a 54-yarder in a 2-minute drill in front of the head coach is a good way to do it. And I think it's really important that we all understand, like LSU fans, as it relates to kicker, like you've been spoiled. Like that, right? The last two guys have been unbelievable. I mean, I'm watching Cade on television, sent out there for a 55-yarder. He hits the upright and it's halfway up there. I mean, he was a 4th-round draft pick for a reason. So I think if anybody's got the expectation that, hey, we'll be able to go out and bang a 58-yarder because Cade could do it, I don't think that's fair to the guys in the program. But Damien's got plus leg strength. Like 50, 52 yards, we feel good about it. Now, we'll see what happens here in the last week as we finish up the competition. Because, and I should say this, I'm sorry, I double back. You're not going to send the guy out to make very many 52-yarders throughout the course of the year. I'm most interested in how many 44-yarders can we make when it matters. That's what we're most interested in. Like, as coaches, we're not attempting very many 52-yarders throughout the course of the year. We are attempting a bunch of kicks between 35 and 48, and those are the ones that we have to make. Well, the beauty of at least field goal kicking is it's pretty objective, right? I mean, they either go through the uprights or they don't. What we have done throughout the course of training camp is we have identified to the players, we're working on skill and technique today, and today's an instructional day. And then there are days that we make everybody aware, hey, we are charting right now. And we'll go through a series of 5 or 6 different spots, make sure everybody gets a rep, we film everything, and we chart everything. And you look up after about 2 weeks and you've got a pretty good body of work. Now there is some intuition, there is a little bit of gut feel. How is a guy going to react in a team setting? As those numbers started to clear themselves up, we then, because you can't rep 4 kickers in a team setting, as a couple of guys began to separate themselves, now we put them into more, 2-minute drill, overtime, team settings where we amp up the pressure a little bit. But, I was very curious to see how it was going to go in the stadium the other day. They were all PAT attempts, but we handled it, fairly well. So, a lot of it's numbers based, and then after that, there's a little bit of intuition and how do you think a guy's going to react to what is going to be obviously a pressure field situation.
Coach Jacob Verdon from the Verdon Verdict. You mentioned Major Burns' positive attitude. How do you help spread that character amongst the locker room as a coach?
Encourage it, recognize it. I keep a gigantic bucket of Halloween candy in here, and when there's a really good play or there's good effort, there's good energy, we throw. You come in here for a special teams meeting, there's candy flying all over the room. We're launching it 5 rows up. But what we're trying to do is continually recognize positive performance, positive effort in front of all their peers, and then encourage guys like Major and the other guys that had that positive juice and energy to approach the work that way, because that stuff spreads. And I wish we had more of him. He's a joy to be around.
Yeah, hey, Coach. Glenn West, Go247. Just a quick recruiting question for you. I mean, obviously you guys are in full season mode now. Just what does the process look like in terms of getting players onto campus for games, and just how important that will be for you guys as a staff? Well,
first of all, as it relates to recruiting, my mother's got a Google alert on her phone for every time my name shows up. And there was a while there in the spring that quote about, hey, we're not panicked yet, kept showing up. And it was always followed with, well, we'll see. Like, everybody okay now? Like, summer went all right. We have got to make sure that we keep our foot down. Like, we cannot allow the fact that we've shifted into season mode take away from our recruiting efforts. J.R. Belton, Will Redmond, Corey Phillips, Jordan Arsenault, Sherman Wilson. I think we have such a great personnel staff. They do a terrific job of guiding us along and helping us get on the phone. We will be out in fall. We will be out at games both locally and in the South when we go on the road. We'll get out and we'll see our guys, and we still have plenty of room at the end, and we're still working on a bunch of guys, and we have to keep the guys that are verbal committed. Certainly in today's day and age, a verbal commitment just motivates other people, it seems. So we've got to keep grinding on it. But I think collectively as a staff, starting with Coach Kelly, the assistant coaches, the support staff, we knew that it was going to be a very important summer, but we also had confidence that we were going to move the needle and we were going to get a lot of the guys that we wanted, and I think we did a really good job of that. And for those of us who had not gone through visits in late June in the South, we learned a little bit about what we can do and what we ought not to do in terms of how we set up a visit and all those things. And but I think looking back on it, there was far more good than there was bad, and we feel good about where we're at, but we got to keep going, and I think everybody understands that.
Over the last few months, what have you sort of learned about recruiting here in Louisiana now that you have just a little bit more experience than when you guys first showed up?
I think anybody that believes that NIL is not a factor in recruiting is not being realistic. I mean, that seems to be a thing with, the same 2 or 3 institutions that we recruit against. I've learned how family-driven recruits in the Deep South and specifically Louisiana, when you have a prospect visit your campus for an unofficial visit, and there's 12 people in tow, and they're serious about it. I mean, like, all 12 want to sit through the academic presentation. They want to be everywhere. They want to see everything. There's a lot of family involvement. One of the things I have great admiration for in terms of what I learned this summer, camps in the South are not as meaningful as they are here. A lot of camp in the North is kind of, hey, it's always been my dream to go to Ohio State football camp. Okay, guys look like me, like, you're not getting a scholarship, but top players in the South, I mean, elite level recruits, will come to camp and work. And that doesn't happen a lot of other places. There were prospects from our state that came here and earned scholarships. And I think that that's, as a staff, the fact that a guy would be willing to come work when he's got 25 other offers, but he wants your place and he's willing to come to camp and earn it, that makes us like the kid just from Jump Street. And then we had a case where a guy came back 3 times. And I think the world of that. And that, I think, is something that is a little bit different. Certainly in Louisiana, I would imagine it's a southern thing. But guys' willingness to come to camp and grind it out, that's awesome to see. And when it's a joy as a coach when you have a guy that you know, hey, let's get this guy in camp and see what happens, and he blows up, you're like, that's fun, right? And that happened a couple times this summer. And we're grateful. We are grateful to the high school coaches, specifically coaches in Louisiana, that did not discourage those guys. Like, there were some people that, hey, I got 7-on-7 tonight, and high school coaches were good, and we're grateful for that, and we recognize that. So. What do you got?
The mic's not working anyway, so I'll give it.
Just kind of a fun question. The people at Ammart are very excited that you love the Cajun turkey and everything. I mean, when did you first become a fan of that?
You know what? My wife went in there, and she said, you know, you moron, your picture's hanging in the air. The quote from Twitter is in there. When I first got the job, I was in an airport out recruiting, and I had a little time to kill. So I put out a tweet to Tiger fans. I said, all right, I'm new. Give me the spots. And about 50 people hit me back with, you need to go get the Cajun turkey from the Ammart. So when I was off the road, I said, all right, here we go. I'm driving down Nicholson. Let's figure it out. And I walked in. I thought I was in the wrong place. And any local will understand that if you've not been there before, you walk in, it's not a sandwich shop. It's a store that makes sandwiches in the corner. And but it was as advertised. And my wife was in the area one time, and she was like, all right, I'm going to stop and grab lunch. And she didn't tell me where. And she walked in. She goes, I got your turkey sandwich. I'm like, She goes, you're an idiot. I'm like, what? Your picture's like hanging in there. That was not the intent, but we'll take it. So.
I'm going to keep it lighthearted since
Okay.
we already started this train. Is it your playlist that blares during practice? And if so, what do the guys think of your selection?
So this is fair. I took some grief for this on social media. The players get the playlist. So in pre-practice, when we go through run and stretch, which is 15 minutes, that's their music playing, okay? When we're in competitive situations and special teams, I just like to play some rock and roll. Now, it goes both ways, all right? We had a day where we had a tackling circuit. It was a long period, and I went straight Motown. We had Stevie Wonder, we had the Jackson 5. So at one point, I think it was Josh Williams kind of in line, but he's bopping around dancing. It was Stevie Wonder. And I go, you know who this is, right? He goes, I have no idea. I'm like, oh, dude, you're killing me right now. But the flip side of it is, in run and stretch, I'll hear something, and it's Major Burns is mine now. He's my consigliere to music made after 2018. And I'll say, Major, who is this? He goes, Coach, you never heard NBA Youngboy? I'm like, no, I have not, but now I'm going to get into it. Or the other day I heard a song I liked. I said, Major, Future, Coach, this is Future. Now we had a Drake song, I knew Drake. But no, it's fun. It's just a little bit of give and take. I do think, though, there are times when we are in competitive situations that we want to just amp up the rock and roll. In the end, it really doesn't matter what it is, but there's scientific evidence that shows that the beats, right? The beats will get them moving a little bit. The beats per second, the beats per minute, whatever it is. I mean, my Peloton instructor talks about it too. But that's kind of what we do. But I call it a little grief because there was a Rush song on once, and everybody went, how old are we? That's even old for me. All right, you guys have a good one. Appreciate you.